Hi, this is a video about how to solve a problem with a GM and possibly a Chevy remote control. This is a remote from a GMC Sierra, 2012 GMC Sierra pickup. And the problem I was having was that when I pushed the lock or the unlock buttons, the doors would not lock and unlock. I'd have to push the button, hold it, push it again, push it 2 or 3 times. Eventually I would get the doors to lock or unlock, but it wasn't working very well. It wasn't working the first time I pressed the buttons. So I decided to change the battery, and I'll show you how to do that in the process of coming up with the eventual fix. And changing the battery didn't work, so I decided to take another crack at it, just to see if I could save myself the trouble of having to buy another remote and program it and do all that stuff. So this is a video to show you how to do that. Hopefully it'll work for you. The first thing I did was, if your remote probably has a keyring on it, remove that keyring because you're going to crack open this remote, and I won't bother to work through the details of struggling to get that ring off, but take that ring off, it'll make things a lot easier. The next thing you need to do is to open up the remote, and you can see there's a kind of a seam that goes around the remote, and I found out the best way to open this remote is to take something with a very small, very thin, flat blade like this putty knife, and if you look closely on the remote, I'll see if I can show it here, right about, so I'm looking at the side of the remote here, and right about here where my finger is, there is a little bit of a slot. It's right about there. And the corner of this very thin blade fits into that slot. And if you put something very thin into that slot and hold the remote on its edges, you can turn this blade and just pop the remote open. And when you do that, it splits open like a clamshell. There's the battery on the right and the circuit board on the left. Now if you want to change the battery, if you have to change the battery, it's pretty easy. You just pop this battery out. It is a CR2032 battery. So just change that out. Positive side goes down. Pop it back in place, and then if that's all you need to do, then just put the battery back, put the remote back together, snap it in place, and you'll be done. But if you're still having trouble, sort of trouble I was having, where the remote buttons were not working reliably, the next thing you have to do is pull out the circuit board. That's very easy to do. There's a rubber gasket over here that weatherproofs the remote to a large extent, and it's conveniently a little tab here that's probably for the battery, but I just grab a hold of that tab. See that tab right there? Just grab a hold of it and just pull the remote out. Make sure you don't pull out the rubber gasket. That rubber gasket has to stay in place. So here's the circuit board. Here's the other side of the remote, and you can see that the remote control has these little buttons on the inside that come in contact with these parts of the circuit board. One here, one there, one there. So if you kind of look at the remote control, you can see, well, one of these is for lock, one is unlock, one is the remote start. Down the bottom is the alarm. And there, it looks like there are a couple of features on this circuit board, one here, and one here, that are not part of my remote. I don't know what they do, but I think these are the things that were causing me some trouble. So here's what I did. I decided to clean it off, so I took some isopropyl alcohol. It doesn't have to be 91%. I think there are 70-something% alcohols out there, and you just need a tiny bit. So I'm going to pour some into the cap here, just a little bit, and then take a Q-tip, cotton swab, wet it with some alcohol, and then very gently rub these little contact squares on the remote. Kind of clean them off. Now I cleaned these off earlier, but when I did it the first time, I was getting a little bit of black or some kind of a discolored residue on the Q-tip when I did this. So just rub it off. Rub the alcohol on the contacts. And if you feel the need, you can kind of dry them off a little bit, but the alcohol will evaporate pretty fast. You can see it evaporating right now. It's just pretty much gone. So once you finish with that, let me put the cap back on the alcohol. I just spilled some, but that's no big deal. Once you finish with that, take the circuit board, carefully put it back inside the remote within the rubber gasket. Push it in place. You don't have to push it very hard. Then take the other side of the remote with the battery in it, new battery if you've replaced the battery. Turn it over. Snap it in place. And then give it a try. Now this worked very well for me. Now when I go to my truck and I have a lock or unlock the truck, I don't have to press the buttons multiple times. I'll hold them. I just stand there. I press it once. It locks. I press it once more and it unlocks. That fixed my problem. I hope it fixes yours if you have something similar.